What's going on, FA Nation? Happy Friday. John Impemba here with James Grande, bringing you the Fantasy Line NBA DFS live stream for Friday's main slate. James, good way to end the week. Nice large slate, a lot of stars involved. Giannis is active, which is great news for everybody that looking to play him against Memphis tonight. How are you feeling about it? You're the man on the playbook.
It feels good. I think I'm in a really good spot for the slate. I feel very confident for cash games. I feel, I think we were kind of talking about it before we hopped on air. Something like this, and we talked about it on the podcast last night, also have lineups, contingent upon news. So you build the lineup throughout the day with all the Bucks value when you think Giannis is going to be out, and then you have a backup for if in case he is going to play, which is the situation today. So I feel good. I've done both throughout the day, and I love my lineups without the Bucks chalk value. And I'm ready to hop into this playbook considering we have a big slate.
Yeah, we got 9 games, so let's jump into it. We go to the point guard spot. We got Russell Westbrook here up against Orlando. Trae Young home against the Pacers. And Brogdon on the flip side of that matchup. Obviously, Westbrook playing at another really great level right now, showing the consistency we've looked for. Orlando's been able to hang in some games lately, with two of the top teams, in the NBA with the Lakers the other night and Milwaukee. So now you have them going up against Houston. There's an opportunity here for Westbrook and Harden to play, full allotments of minutes if Orlando keeps it together. How are you feeling about paying up for Westbrook right now?
I like Westbrook. I mean, I think the production is very apparent, 48 plus in 4 of 5 games. And we've seen a 70-point ceiling. So you can go there. It's fine. I think it's a tournament play. And I think it's a play that you can get at low ownership. So that's something that you could take advantage of because I do think the Magic will keep this game close. Trae Young, I love for tournaments. I think Trae Young is someone, if you want to do like a little contrarian tournament stack, him, Brogdon, who you mentioned, and Domantas Sabonis would be a nice little trio, all with, essentially right now, I mean, we could be looking at a trio of like 150 to 175 points if all things go right. If the Hawks can keep this game close at home,
224 total, only 6-point spread, so
right,
not the worst.
And I mean, I think Young is more of a tournament play. I think Brogdon you can use for all formats. I mean, it doesn't get better than Trae Young individually, like in terms of being guarded by Trae Young. Brogdon can exploit that matchup tremendously. Yeah. So I love Brogdon in cash. I love Trae Young in tournaments, and I love a game stack here with Young, Brogdon, and bring it back with Domantas Sabonis as well.
All right. Obviously, you had Eric Bledsoe in the playbook, but Giannis ruled in. So still maybe like a good play here against Memphis, but not nearly the ceiling that he would have had Giannis played. If we go down, you do have De'Anthony Melton, no John Morant. Tyus Jones could start. I mean, Tyus has been starting with Morant out. I don't know if that's been officially announced yet or not, but Melton has been the more productive fantasy player this whole time. And we're getting great value on him once again. Only $3,900 on DraftKings, $4,100 on FanDuel. He was up, was he close to like 5K, a couple of weeks ago when Morant was ruled out. So, again, a spot really to take advantage of the value on these larger slates that we're always looking for. And then you got Elf Payton, played the minutes we were looking for the other day. Now he gets a really good matchup here against the Kings. How are you going between those two for value tonight?
I mean, Melton is going to be the chalk, and so is Tyus. I think you can probably I'd even venture to say you could play both Tyus and Melton in the same lineup. They just don't have much depth right now. With Morant out, they have Grayson Allen out, who is another cog in that backcourt that could steal minutes. They're both gone. So I think you could play both of them safely. I would say Melton is my preferred option, but I think Tyus would be obviously the lower owned of the two. And then Elfrid Payton's not going to get any ownership. I don't know if people realize that he played 30 minutes. I think people just want to avoid the Knicks at all costs and kind of just cross them off their player pool generally. And it's not the worst approach, but it's a nice way to get exposure to a late game. It's not expensive. If he goes for let's say a 20-point fantasy point game, it doesn't kill your lineups because he's 4.2K, 4.4 over on DK. So I like it for tournaments.
Does it worry you at all that Dennis Jr. didn't play in that game against the Warriors? And he's probable tonight. I mean, he's not going to get a ton of run, but he did play 15 minutes against Portland.
He did. Yes, and that's probably why my hesitations with Peyton, and ultimately it probably just, all right, I could just play Tyus and I could just play Melton at the same time. So but I mean, it does. But if Elfrid Payton's playing well, I mean, he can fill it up in bunches. So I don't hate it. I'm also interested on what the Clippers do at the point guard position. There's a couple options they can go with. They have Derek Walton Jr. They have Terrence Mann. We've seen Mann start, and he's actually played 30 minutes in a start in previous weeks. Not too long ago. We know Pat Bev's out. We know Lou Williams out. So, could they, I guess, theoretically play someone like Kawhi or, just as their de facto, as their de facto point guard? Yes. We've seen Mo Harkless play extended run, so they could just, play a really big lineup tonight. But we also have JaMychal Green out. So they're, kind of depleted. So I think one of these guys between Walton, between Mann, between Jordan Robinson are going to get extended run. We just need to find out the starting lineup before I commit or we commit to any one of them.
And up top, you did have Augustine and Carter Williams listed if Fultz was ruled out. Fultz is ruled in, so I want to get your opinion on him. He's only $5,200 in this matchup against Houston. But also, Augustine was playing really well off the bench for Orlando. Seemed like he had a little bit struggling moving into that starting lineup. Now moving back comfortably into his backup role. This is something that Sean Mitchell has kind of preached a lot this year is, he likes guys who are sort of set in their roles and they seem to be productive with their units. Do you have any interest in either of those two, given the health of Fultz back?
I would have more interest in Fultz. I think it's a really good matchup, 5.2K on DraftKings. We know the matchup it's a plus matchup for Orlando. We know the pace is insanely up here for the Magic. Way higher of an implied total than you're ever going to see the Magic because it's usually a grinded out defensive game. But again, no Vooch, so that is a bonus. There will be more offense running through Fultz. So I like Fultz. I don't hate the Augustine approach because I think Sean's onto something. I think it's been pretty apparent throughout all the cases that he's brought up that people just get comfortable with a certain role and then play better in that specific role. So I don't hate him. Again, I have Elfrid Payton in the playbook. I have Augustine up top. It's going to be very hard to not play DeAnthony Melton, considering anytime he's gotten 25 or 23 minutes, he's gone for 25 plus fantasy points. So ultimately, I think that's just some chalk we eat and we just kind of move it on.
I agree with you. Let's go to shooting guard. Obviously, Harden, he tops the list, and, I find him to be difficult to fade today. Not just because, he went for 80 the other day in a game that stayed close, but I'm expecting this game to be close. And I know it's sort of a slower pace for them because Orlando does play very slow, but, I'm finding a way, and especially Melton, to get James Harden in my lineup. I know Giannis is active, and he's in a good spot, but I worry more about a blowout in that game than I do with Orlando. So, give me some Jimmy James here.
Yeah, and it's going to probably be, even though he went for 80, it's probably going to be a night where a lot of people don't think like that, and it's going to say, they're going to be like, well, the Magic play at such a slow pace. How is Houston going to score as many points as they normally do? Well, it's because they have James Harden.
35 shots.
Whether or not the pace is slow or not, James Harden and Russell Westbrook are going to take their shots. Other people on that team are going to suffer. It's not going to be, trust me, it's not going to be Harden or Westbrook.
He might not make a lot of those 34 shots, but he's going to take them.
Right. I'm with you. I think Harden is the nuts tonight, and I hope people don't play him. I think you can play him all formats. It's a tough salary to spend, but we have a lot of value. There is a ton of value at power forward. In the Warriors game, there's Mike Scott, who's likely going to start with Al Horford out again, and we have the Memphis guys. So you can make a very nice cash game lineup with Harden, and you can make a really, really interesting tournament lineup. So I'm with you. I think he's my top play over Giannis, over LeBron, over Towns. I think you should find ways to get Harden into your lineup.
Yeah. If we go further down, we got a little revenge game narrative there with Drew Holiday against Philadelphia. I think that's fine. But I really like Devontae Graham. This is someone that you and I have talked about. I don't think it was on the podcast. I think it was right before recording, but we just need to start playing more of him. Like there's like we every night we look at the box score, we're like, oh man, Devontae Graham went off, and then we go about our day. He's been in a couple of our lineups a few times, but now he gets a spot against Chicago. I mean, it's like I said, we gotta start playing more of this guy.
Now, Chicago's definitely been a better defensive team since they inserted Chris Dunn into the lineup, and it's showing across the board. But Graham has had really tough matchups recently. 4 of the last 5 games, he's gone for 47-plus fantasy points. It's very hard to fade that production for a guy who's not getting increased in price. I mean, he's still 7,900 after going for 40 actual and 67 fantasy. So how do you not increase that price tag? It's not a bad total. I mean, it's not a great total, but 213 isn't bad. It's a nice paced spot for Charlotte too. They're getting the pace up game here. So I like Graham. I like Wiggins for kind of just all formats. I think Wiggins has a safe floor, especially if Teague's rolled out. I think we're going to just see a massive amount of.
Not worried about the matchup there at all, George or Kawhi?
Yes, but I mean, we're seeing a more diverse Wiggins. We're not just seeing like if it was Wiggins of last year where we're just relying upon scoring, I would be more inclined. But he's being the point guard. He's playing point guard. He's crashing the board. So like. We know there's going to be a lot. This is going to be a very fast-paced game. There's going to be a lot of missed shots. This is an opportunity for Wiggins to stuff the box score in basically all facets. So I think Wiggins is fine for all formats. The price tag is really nice. Middleton is okay. I think he's been fine, but I do worry about a blowout. I think D'Angelo Russell could be I almost want to say he could be the key to the slate. And I only want to say that because if you play him, it might end in disaster, and he plays 22 minutes, and this is a 40-point game at half because Golden State is so shorthanded. But if that game does stay close, Utah has not been the same defensive team as they have been in years past. It's literally going to be because of D'Angelo Russell. Yep, and he's cheap. Like, he's really cheap for the type of upside he
cheaper than he's definitely been. And I think, because he was coming back from injury and his minutes hadn't really all been up there yet. That his price tag got lowered. But, I would definitely take him to be a reason for them to stay close in the game with their, 14-point dogs. You do have Jimmy Butler written up at the top. You don't have him in the playbook. Next to his name, you say he's expensive. He is expensive. And you and I kind of talked about whether or not he was worth playing or not on the podcast. Are you still sort of leaning the way of playing Butler just because he is getting so much usage rate?
I'm kind of come over to your side of the fence, and I don't think you're necessarily like just writing him off, but there are just other guys that you'd rather play, and I kind of feel the same way. 9,500, you did mention, you brought up a good point last night on the podcast. There are a lot of guys with Avery Bradley active as well that they can stick on Butler, and that might not matter because, again, peripherally, he's doing everything. He could give us 15 assists tonight, and if he only scores 10 points, that's fine because he gives us 15 assists, grabs a handful of rebounds. But the Lakers' defense is very good. It's a very slow-paced game. Yeah. I would rather just, spend elsewhere. I mean, at the position, we could find the salary to get harder. All the guys we mentioned are just perfectly fine, and then we can go down and we could just play Dillon Brooks, and it's probably less appealing with Giannis in the lineup. Because if this game blows out, is he going to play? Is he not?
Does he get taken out?
The issue is they don't have the depth. They just don't. Again, Grayson Allen is their backup shooting guard. He is not there. So I think there is potential that he gets taken off the floor. I also think there's potential for him to just play all the minutes. They have Marco Gudrick there. He plays every so often. Right. They have guys like Solomon Hill, Jay Crowder, but are you really going to play them at the 2? They could just realistically play both point guards at both guard positions. So I think Brooks is fine, and I don't think it's taken off the court. I just want you to be weary. I don't want you to just go all in on Dillon Brooks because it's a really good price tag. We mentioned on the pod last night the usage rate is great. It's a 26% usage rate without John Morant, and it's almost a 4% increase from when Morant's on the floor. So, it's hard to ignore. I just don't go all in on Brooks. That's all I'd say.
All right, that's fine. Again, guys that you don't really have mentioned there, but we talked about the Heat plays from the other night on the podcast. Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. Thoughts on either of those two?
Duncan Robinson's fine on FanDuel. I'm not paying $5,700 for him on DK. Kendrick Nunn, not paying $6,700 on DK. I'd play him on FanDuel, $5,500, and Tyler Hero,
4,900 DraftKings. Just kind of.
It's okay. I mean, it's again. He's also going to see all these guys that are Butler's going to see, and I think we'd probably feel better about playing Butler because we know what Butler's going to do compared to Hero. Like, he could play 22 minutes and then just like, you're missing all your shots and you were ill all day, so we're just going to take you off the floor. So I don't, not necessarily tonight.
All right, let's go on over to small forward. Obviously, Giannis being ruled in against this Memphis team that's missing some of their plays. You can play him if you want. He is gone for 70 and 25 minutes before. It's totally doable. If this game stays close, then he's going to ruin everybody. So Giannis is perfectly fine. LeBron, I do like LeBron here against Miami. I liked him the other night against Orlando, and he had another big game there. So I think that's fine. I don't think there's going to be too much ownership on him. We only have around like 10 to 12% ownership projected for him. So but he's always in play this year. Like, he's pretty consistently giving you in that 50 fantasy point range with some upside. So LBJ is perfectly fine. I mentioned, earlier today when we got news that Lou Williams was ruled out and Pat Bev was ruled out, that I kind of bumped up Kawhi and George in my own sort of like personal rankings because, just a guy like Lou Williams does have a lot of usage that he takes up when he's on the floor with either of them. Now you have to assume that either there's going to be times where it's just George on the floor or just Kawhi on the floor, and the offense is going to solely run through those two. So I like the Paul George call again, better on DK at $8,800.
Yeah, I prefer him to Kawhi here. I don't know, like, it's a small sample, but a 45% usage with Lou Will and Beverly off the floor. It was only like 53 minutes. 2.73 fantasy points per minute with both of them off the floor. 2.73. That's not, you don't see that ever. Yeah. Like, ever. And again, it's a very small sample, so I'm going to pump the brakes on like yelling at my camera. I am a little sick also, so I don't want to yell at my camera. But I think they're both in play. I just prefer George slightly.
Okay, that's fine. For going down, I mean, we were all in on Tobias Harris last night with no Al Horford. I think you can 1,000% go back to him here against
cover the playbook. Cover the playbook today.
Yeah. And then you go opposite of him. Sort of opposite for him. It depends on how the Pelicans run out their starting lineup tonight. But, Brandon Ingram could be the power forward or small forward. And you're getting a huge decrease, it seems like, on DraftKings. Right. Only $7,600 for Brandon Ingram. I don't know, again, what's going on there, because he's pretty much giving you, 40 plus a night. So Harris and Ingram, I think, are in just perfect spots to run up against one another.
Yeah, I mean, I have Harris in every cash game lineup I'm playing tonight, even tournaments. 50 fantasy points last night, 25% usage with Al Horford, and 41 fantasy points per game over his last 6. Very safe floor. Ingram is fine. Not going to lie, I am playing Jonathan Isaac everywhere tonight. Okay. I'm playing so much Jonathan Isaac. I think this is like the perfect scenario for him. The price tag is cheaper than we've seen in quite a while. It's a pace-up spot. We know how dominant with the ball Westbrook and Harden are.
Derek Favors will start, by the way. Sorry to cut you off there.
They already mentioned it's only going to be 15 to 17 minutes, so no interest in Favors, but I do think that slightly can impact Embiid a little bit, but, I mean...
Starting Kendrick Williams at power forward, Ingram at small forward.
So Harris versus Ingram. Nice matchup for Ingram. Vice versa, both a good matchup for both. Good, yeah. But I'm playing a lot of Harris Isaac. That's basically been my combination in all my lineups tonight. We know how turnover prone Westbrook and Harden are. Right. We know how dominant Isaac is in the passing lanes and how he is when people attack the rim and for blocking shots. I think this could be one of those.
And who's defending him? Is it Ben McLemore?
I mean, right. So we're gonna get a night that Isaac can do it all, and I was very iffy on him. If Vukovic played, I was off him. But now that Vuc is out, I love the ownership. I think it's a play that we need to smash. I think he might be like the guy that I would say goes for like 8 to 9x at his price and wins everyone all the money tonight.
I mean, usually when we do play him, nobody ever else does. So maybe not the same case when he's going up against Houston, but we do have projected low ownership here. A guy that you and I were all over on the playbook last night was Miles Bridges. The minutes there are all like over 35 in each of the last 3 games, and that's because there's no Batum and there's no Marvin Williams. So, Bridges, I know the ceiling sometimes dips and whatnot, but I think it's another really great spot. Again, only $5,100. DraftKings is basically giving you the keys to play James Harden tonight with all the pricing down, but seemingly they've done here.
Yeah, and it's super hard to ignore the minutes, right? And I think Devontae Graham has kind of like taken over that breakout role that we expected Bridges to see in Charlotte, but he
started the year on the bench and he forced his way into the lineup.
Right. I mean, with the way he's playing, he should. But I mean, 35 plus minutes in basically every game that Marvin Williams doesn't play. Marvin Williams is not playing again tonight, and it's a great spot. I mean, he plays majority of the time. Looking up on Basketball Reference today. Majority of the time at small forward, but he does play about 20 to 25% at power forward, and that's the nut spot against the Bulls. They're the second worst team against power forwards in the NBA. So, I mean, Bridges, and we're going to talk about PJ Washington at power forward. They're both going to see time at power forward and both in great spots. It's kind of a sneaky game tonight, Chicago. I mean, we saw that game. I mean, we saw that game go for like 300 points when that night that Levine hit 15 threes or whatever he did. It's not like out of the realm of possibility that it happens again here. So Bridges at 5-1 is really sneaky. 6K isn't even a bad price. Like, no, I'd rather go
for a guy that's getting that many minutes, that is involved, I would say, my one gripe with Bridges this year has been he's the guy that usually at halftime he has like 24 fantasy points.
And ends with 25.
He finishes with like 26, 27. You're like, where'd you go, man? What happened in the second half? And it's because Devontae Graham's taking all the second half shots pretty much. So, that's always been my sort of like kick the can there with Bridges. And then the other night, you sort of talked me into playing him with Derek Jones. He came off the bench and he played the minutes that you sort of said he was going to play. Now there was an overtime game involved there, but he does what we always talk about Derek Jones. He's a like secondary stat beast. He'll give you rebounds, blocks, steals. And if the scoring comes just a little bit, then he's going to go ahead and crush value there. And that's what we had from him, the other night against Atlanta. So again, an easier matchup for him. Tougher spot against the Lakers, but how are you feeling, about him tonight?
I mean, I think it's a FanDuel play because, like you said, he's good peripherally. I mean, we've seen in the 2 games that he's gone for 20-plus fantasy points in this like little stretch of where he's played 26-plus minutes. Last game, a block and a steal, 7 rebounds. And then on the 6th against Washington, 3 steals and a block. So, I mean, that's where we want to play him because he's going to be on the floor. And it's another team where, like, as great as LeBron is, if you're that ball dominant, you're going to turn the ball over. Like, it just kind of comes with the territory. This could be an opportunity for Jones to grab a couple of steals, and 4.2K is a really nice price tag. And I think I listed him at power forward, but Mo Harkless has, if we take a look at his minutes the last 3 games without JaMychal Green, I mean, this is the starting type of player we saw in Portland where he was getting things done. I mean, 36, 34, 30 minutes, they are depleted. I mean, there's no Lou Williams, there's no Pat Bev, there's no JaMychal Green. We don't know what their lineup's going to be. We have no idea. And it's a great spot against Minnesota. Huge pace-up spot, huge game total. The Clippers lead with implied total. 28, 27, 23 fantasy points for Harkless. I think he's kind of sneaky in this game environment over on FanDuel. Again, all roads lead back to James Harden, don't they? Yeah. Because another value play in Harkless, who's playing minutes. He's actually being productive. I mean, this is the stand-in-the-corner guy of the century, and he scored double-figure actual points in 2 of his last 3.
He's very aggressive on the glass, though, and that helps out. That helps out a lot. And this is something that we've always talked about, last year with Harkless when he was with Portland. It's like, he doesn't do a ton, but he's always rebounding. He's always going to give you, almost 10 and 7. And he won a lot of money. He was in a lot of winning lineups the other day against the Pacers when there was no Kawhi, there was no JaMychal. He was $3,500. And I think there was another value play people sort of went to that night, and Harkless was the one they should have gone to. So good call on Harkless there for sure. Let's go to power forward. AD, pretty simple. GPPs up against Miami. They're starting Myers Leonard tonight at power forward. We went over this last night. Myers Leonard, Kelly Olynyk, Derrick Jones. I think James Johnson's active. Like there's no real threat to him, at the power forward spot. Like sure, Bam is athletic and can kind of hang a little bit, but I mean, it's still AD here and he's rolling. So the guy I love probably the most at power forward is Sabonis. We talk about it all the time. Yep. He's my guy.
I'm actually hopping on board today. I have him in basically every lineup on DraftKings. I think the price tag is, and I kind of teased this at the beginning when we were talking about like this game in general, playing Trae Young and Brogdon and playing Sabonis all in a game stack.
Yeah.
I mean, Sabonis, has he shown a ceiling often? No. But if there was ever a time, right? If there was ever a ceiling game or ever an opportunity for a ceiling game, it's against Jabari Parker and it's against Atlanta, who is they're bad at rebounding the basketball. They're bad at defending the basketball. The total, I mean, a lot of people betting the over. It's up to 224, up a 1.5 since the beginning of the day. So like everything just kind of fits snug for Sabonis today. This could be another 20+ rebounding game. Plus, he's just axing like Miles Turner is irrelevant because of what Sabonis is doing right now. And there's no reason to think he's not going to continue that here. So I'm hopping on board with you. Plus, it's not a great position tonight. I don't love power forward. I think it's basically like you play Davis in tournaments. If you want to go that route, it's obviously fine.
All right.
And then we play Sabonis, and then there's like a bunch of value. I mean, it's the Golden State guys. I think Chris and Spellman are both going to be very popular. Spellman, $3,100 on DK. Marquise Chris, min salary on FanDuel. And then Mike Scott, who started last night, put up 25 fantasy points, and is min salary across the industry. So,
how do you rank the 3 min price plays of Chris, Spellman, and Scott?
I would put the Warriors 1A, 1B, and put Scott third. Okay. Because if that game blows out, Chris and Spellman are going to get minutes. But then if the game blows out, they're definitely going to get minutes. Like, they're going to get all the minutes. So, and I fully expect that game to blow out. The reason I put D'Angelo Russell, obviously, because if that game doesn't blow out, it's him. But I do expect that game to blow out. That's why you don't see a lot of Utah players in here, because I would love to play Donovan Mitchell. I would love to play Joe Ingles. It's just very hard to trust them, especially Mitchell at his elevated price tag. So I would probably go Spellman, Chris, Scott. But obviously Chris is a wild card because
he did have a double-double the other night.
Right. First double-double year, and that's where the wild card aspect comes in. He's also like extremely foul happy, and he could just not do anything. And then Spellman, So I think it's Sabonis. There's a couple guys in that mid tier I would play, and then it's basically all the value.
Okay. I just want to circle back to a couple guys that we kind of passed over. I know we're going to center, but just seeing an update. Kevin Huerter bumped up to 30 minutes tonight. Does that interest you at all against the Pacers?
It does. In a game stack, I think he's also a very productive player on a per minute basis, and he's only 4K, so perfectly fine. I mean, and the players you attack on the Indiana defense are Jeremy Lamb and TJ Warren. I will note that they played Justin Holiday over Lamb the other day, and Holiday saw 35 minutes, and Lamb's minutes have kind of been trending in the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. Holiday's obviously a better defender, but I mean, 4K, we're looking for 20 for 5X, probably 30. There's probably a 30-point upside, there's probably 30-point upside for Huerter tonight, so I don't hate that play.
Okay. All right, let's jump over to center and wrap this up here. Towns against the Clippers in a spot that you and I both love. You have Embiid, who talked about being motivated last night after Shaq and Charles Barkley have now motivated 2 centers in the NBA this season. One was Whiteside. Yeah. And now they have Embiid going nutty, and he gets his spot. I think if I was ranking my top plays tonight, I know it's a back-to-back, but I would go Harden. Then I think I would go Embiid right below him. One, not just given the price tag, but I mean, if he truly is motivated, there's nobody on that team that's going to stop him.
Yeah, and he looked really good in a back-to-back the last time they played. And he played 33 minutes on the second leg of a back-to-back, so we shouldn't really be concerned with Embiid tonight because it's a back-to-back. This is a new year, and he's playing back-to-backs. He's played the last two. This is a third straight back-to-back. I think he's going to garner a lot more ownership than Towns, so I think if you want to pivot to Towns based on ownership, I think you can do that. Plus 233 total. We know the pace of that game is going to be pretty nutty. So I still lean Towns slightly, but it's not like I'm saying like they're both elite. It's not. You're picking one out of a hat and playing them. The rest of the position, though, I actually have a lot of exposure to the rest of the position, and mainly Montrezl Harrell and Wendell Carter, who I've grown more fond of throughout the day, and Valanciunas obviously in tournaments because on DraftKings. 6,500. We know Morant's not there. We know Brandon Clark's not there, and we're seeing Valanciunas play 35 plus minutes. 35 around 35 minutes without Brandon Clark. Harrell is going to get all of the second usage. I mean, you pointed out probably playing with Paul George or Kawhi, but it's not ever a one man pony show. So Harrell is really solid. 6,400 on DraftKings it just seems way too cheap. And then Wendell Carter gets the Hornets, right? It doesn't get better than that. So for tournaments, I really like Carter. I really like Mitchell Robinson. I really like Valanciunas for tournaments. I would play Carter. I'd actually probably play Carter in cash, and I would play Montrezl Harrell in cash games as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's all fair. Carter, to me, such a great spot for him. I can't get him right. He just fouls up. Like every time I play him, he just fouls. So I don't blame you. I like the call, and I definitely like Valanciunas. Probably getting low ownership there because you're going to see a lot of Embiid and Towns. I mean, I would think you'd see a lot of Embiid and Towns. There's definitely enough value to where you can get Harden and Embiid probably in the lineup together if you really could work it. So I agree with you. Any final thoughts here? We do have a half hour till roster lock.
No, lineups are going to come out in any minute. They were making some adjustments with the Bucks news.
Okay. That wraps it up, guys. We'll be in subscriber chat. Get everything ready leading into roster lock. So good luck.